Let's get this done.
He's so impatient, isn't he?
He is. Well, we're rolling, so it should hurry up. All right, Thunder. Where are we? And what are we doing here?
We are in Goulburn, New South Wales. And today we're going to meet Ed Suttle, and he is an Angus beef cattle farmer. Ed is also one of the driving forces behind one of Australia's largest community-owned solar farms. Oh. It is very cool. It is completely owned and driven by the community. So Goulburn used to be known for the Big Merino, and soon it's going to be known for the Big Renewable.
Woohoo! Let's go. Beautiful. All righty, Ed, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Yes.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, we're all ready. Who are you? Where are we? And why am I interviewing you?
We're on the farm that Jane and I own. We've had it for about 20 years, and on which we now breed Angus cattle.
Before we keep going, we just missed who you are.
Oh, Ed. My name is Ed Suttle. We're both involved in the community, and one of the things I've been doing for the last 10 years is being a member of a group that is about to build Australia's largest community-owned solar farm with battery storage.
That sounds mightily impressive.
It feels it, Ryan, I tell you. Sorry, this makes me emotional because it's an extraordinary story. Yeah, I mean, I might cry when I'm telling you that story.
I know. No crying, okay?
Yeah, okay, no crying.
Wind turbines on farms, is this good for the local economy or not?
Yes,
Transmission lines, above or below ground?
I'm in favour of above.
Transitioning our energy system to renewables immediately or taking ages?
Immediate.
Renewables or fossil fuels?
Renewables.
Nuclear or renewables?
Renewables.
Using cheaper, safer renewables now or delaying with old polluting fossil fuels and using expensive, dangerous nuclear later?
Renewables.
Renewables it is. So how did the Goulburn Community Solar Farm get off the ground?
It began with local people who were concerned about the lack of action about renewables at every level, at federal, state and local. There was clearly enthusiasm for the project from the locals.
So the community was behind it right from the start?
Because we'd identified the site. So we talked to every single resident or business that could oversee that site. Spoke to all of them in advance, discussed what we were going to do, what sort of view they would have, how it might affect their lifestyle. Nobody objected. We had 4 or 5 big public meetings with sort of updates on progress. We had regular letters and articles in the local press. I used to do radio interviews. So there was a constant message going out to the community. And at the same time, any of us involved, we're bumping into people in the street, in cafes, and, you know, the conversation just kept going. So by the time we got to the stage where we had to raise the money, the knowledge of the project within the community was very strong.
Why is this community project so extraordinary?
So on October the 22nd, 2020, we held the first public meeting in Goulburn. We had about 100 people in the room. Sorry, this makes me emotional because it's an extraordinary story. Yeah, I mean, I might cry when I'm telling you that story.
I know. No crying, okay?
Yeah, okay, no crying. For an hour, we presented the technical background, the financials, the potential benefits for investors, the risks for investors, and then we asked those 100 people, so if you want to put money in, please go to one of those tables, you join the cooperative, and you tell us how much you're going to invest. Within an hour, we had $500,000 pledged. It was just extraordinary. You have your worst doubts and you have your wildest dreams on a event like that. That was beyond our wildest dreams. And we just sat there and sort of stared at each other and thought, bloody hell, what a wonderful community it is in which we live. It was extraordinary. A week later, we held the same meeting but did it online, and we raised a further $750,000. So within 2 weeks, from this community, we'd raised 1.25 mil, and we hit the 2.1 within about 3 months of starting. In subsequent months, we worked out that the whole thing would have greater financial viability if we put bigger batteries in. So that was an extra cost of about $800,000. So we went back to the government, persuaded them to bung in another 200, and we raised another 600 from the community. So we've now raised 3 mil from the local community. And I should say this, but only very briefly, it's in an environment in our region where all of our elected representatives at federal, state and local government level are vocally and actively against large renewable projects. I think they're representing a very loud minority of people who are against renewables. Within that environment, the Goulburn community has been incredibly supportive and has put its money where its mouth is. Am I talking too fast?
Do you have a date?
I have every expectation it will be built in Q1 2025.
So I guess the question is then is who owns it, who benefits from it, and where does the money go?
Who owns it? The 360 shareholders of the cooperative. They vary from 100,000 down to 400. A $400 investment is small, and we chose the number of 400 because it's roughly the price of one voltaic solar panel fully connected to the grid. So any of those people can drive past the site and go, I own one of them. One of the rules of cooperatives is that whether you own 100,000 shares or 400 shares, you still only have one vote. So we are immune from 2 or 3 rich people coming in and taking it over. We actually surveyed a significant number of investors and said, why did you invest? The number one answer was, this is 100% clean, renewable investment. It doesn't get any cleaner than that. The second was, it's sending some sort of message to government. We want renewable energy. The third was, we love the fact that nearly all the profit will stay within the community because it's local people who own the shares, so the profit will stay here. The fourth one was the community fund, the fact that if you're wealthy enough to buy some shares, you get a benefit. If you're disadvantaged and you're struggling to pay your electricity at all, you still might benefit from this. It's a simple comparison with, say, investing in BHP, which is largely owned by overseas investors. And it's not gambling, it's not tobacco, it's not fossil fuels. It's so ethical, it's ridiculous.
That's a spicy meatball. So how is the community solar farm helping with the cost of living?
In 2 ways. The first is that community fund I've mentioned. So the money in that will help some people be able to afford electricity. And secondly, everybody knows that renewable energy is the cheapest form of electricity. So the more that is generated, even by little things like ours, the cheaper electricity will become. So it's not only the members who will benefit, it's the disadvantaged within the community. If I look broader than that, I would say that the entire Australia benefits because although we're small, we're still producing enough clean energy out of our little solar farm factory to power 400 or 500 homes with totally clean energy.
It's going to be very visible, isn't it? But that's also what the community wants. Why?
It's absolutely adjacent to the Sydney-Canberra, Sydney-Melbourne rail line. So if you're sitting on the right side of the carriage, you'll look out and see this community-owned solar farm. You can also see it on Sydney Road. So if you're driving from Sydney to Goulburn as you come in on your left, there it is. So it's got visual impact. One of the benefits that the investors saw in this is that it shows that Goulburn is not a backward sort of country town. You know, in this way, it's a forward-thinking, we can do it type of community.
Through these interviews, I'm discovering that Australia is about 30 years behind the rest of the world. And so Goulburn is probably about 30 years in front of the rest of Australia.
We're very proud of it.
What would you say to communities about getting their own renewable energy project off the ground?
Well, I would say get going and get going fast. We've done so many hard yards. We've been down so many blind alleys, but we've done all that. Part of the grant money is being spent on what's called a knowledge sharing document. So when we've completed this, we will be able to hand to somebody, this is how you build a community-owned renewable project.